Okay, I'm back. I'm back. Refresh chat. I'm back. I'm live again. Mule made me not die. Did you? Were you holding your breath? You actually holding your breath? Your breasts? Your breasts? Your breath? You didn't have to refresh? Oh, okay. No, you don't need to refresh then. No, you don't need to refresh. That too. That's important. You got to make sure you're holding your breasts while you hold your breath. Very important. Right. Okay, well, we'll see if that solves problems for Petra. And maybe that'll make it easier for people to, like, stop by the stream and that. Because, you know, I don't ever really, like... You know, like, I'm not like, a gamer anymore. Dex, what do you stream at? What do you fucking stream at, man? Because, like, Dex streams games, innit? I feel like maybe my, like, game streaming in the past, I've, like, tried to push things a bit too hard and, like, tried to stream in... Like, I'm streaming at 720p, innit? Yeah, Final Fantasy, like, I don't hate it, but, like, you know, it's whatever. But, like, what bitrate are you streaming at? Like, this is just streaming at 3000 now. Let me have a look at what it looks like. Like, not changed. It's legit, like, not changed. Like, I look, it's exactly the same quality. Wow. Okay. So, yeah, I don't need to fucking do any of that nonsense anymore. Your schedule still says gaming. That's one of the things I need to do. That's one of the things I need to change, Soccer. Like, gaming will be back one day. I will play games on the stream one day. But maybe when I'm, like, partnered, right? Maybe when I'm partnered. You use Streamlabs and went for the auto setup and it works perfectly for you. Video bitrate 6000. Right, okay, yeah. You should make each day on your schedule a different species of rodent. Oh. We could have, like, Chinchilla Mondays and then Rat Tuesdays. Is a wombat? No, wombat's a marsupial, innit? Is a possum a rodent? I thought a possum was a marsupial. Nah, a possum is a marsupial. And a bunny's not a rodent, is it? A bunny's what's a bunny? A bunny's like it's like called a leper or something. No problem since the change. Yes. Fucking buzzing. You used to look after 2 chinchillas. I have cuddled a chinchilla before. It's very, very nice. Very nice. Very soft. Hamster. Yeah, Hamster Wednesday. Need to be open about politics because the fucking gamer to fascist pipeline is so prevalent. Twitch is a massive platform, like, where lots of people go to watch video games. Yeah, like, lots of these people are just like single white dudes in their fucking basement, probably still living at home, hating their fucking lives. They have something to hate. They don't know what it is. They get real angry. They go on the internet. They look for things to get mad about. And what do they see? Joe Rogan. That's right. Who does Joe Rogan have on his podcast? Gavin McInnes, Jordan Peterson, all these other fucking people, you know? Right. Right. No, all these other... I was right. I was right then. I'm right now. The actual white supremacists. Oh, these people sound like they're talking my language. Let's go find out more about them. That's right. It's the feminists and the gays, the trans people and the black people. No, just because you are a single white person in your mum's basement who's got something to hate doesn't mean you are a fascist. What I'm saying is that's the beginning of where most cis white people end up going, huh, I hate my fucking life. How do I make it better? Who do I hate? Who's responsible? And instead of finding capitalism as the problem and fascism, actually no, what they do is they go, oh, that shit that's already been programmed into my brain by the media over hundreds of fucking years. Oh, brilliant. Yeah, I knew it was them. Obviously it's them. Right. So that's why I went viral. That was on January 6th, by the way. I was covering the January 6th thing. You see how the title in my stream was like actual attempted coup? Actual attempted coup. I couldn't believe it. That was such a weird moment for me. Honestly, it was so weird. You wasted £9 on a bottle of sours tonight. Taking too long to do anything. It's giving me fucking heartburn. Oh man, Sorka, that sucks. Rabbits are Lego morphs. Oh, okay. Entrance on. Anyway, let's continue watching this guy. Hey, Sebsdev, what's going on? I thought that guy was the Cuban philosopher. No, unfortunately, I'm not Cuban. If I was Cuban, that would just be like extra based. How you doing, Sebsdev? Listen, you're a fucking streamer. You're a lefty streamer, aren't you? Go follow Sebsdev, everyone. You had a good take on the Voss shit today. That was pretty based. Go follow Sebsdev. How are you doing, friend? Pikas are the best Lego morphs. Lego morphs. Right, what's a Pika? Haven't seen this, but I love that line. It's a fine line between doing real activism and falling down the far right rabbit hole when you have the feeling the world isn't fair. Right, exactly. Well, you know, you say activism, but I wouldn't even go so far as to say like doing real activism, because like lots of people just like realize that it's capitalism that's the problem, and they don't go and do stuff about it either, right? Still not as bad as fascist, but like still not good, right? You know, I get that. I get what you're saying, honestly. Let me just have a look at these. Let me just, what are these? What are these? Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah, these are the best rabbit things. They're not rabbits, but they are rabbits. They're Lego morphs. Look at this little bingus. Look at that guy. Just a little guy. What's the distinction between a Lego morph and a rodent? What is a Lego morph? Animal stunlock. Play a clip, they make the cutest noise. Oh, it's the skull thing. All Lego morphs are herbivores, which has shaped features of skull and definition. Characteristics shared by rodents and Lego morphs include ever-growing in sizes and a diastema separating in sizes from the cheek. Ah, okay. Play a clip. Pika. It's just going to come up with Pokemon stuff. Pika in the wild. Here we go.
Sunlight brings a flush of new greenery to the forest floor. These plant pioneers now have full access to the endless summer sunshine.
In the heat of summer sunshine, I miss you. Da, da. Who sings that? What the fuck? Memory unlocked. Is that the cause? Sorry. You remember I said, chat? Do you remember I said today will be a bad ADHD day for me?
You tell me you have to go. In the heat of summer sunshine, I miss you like nobody else in the
Oh, what a fucking tune!
heat of summer sunshine, I'll kiss you.
And nobody knows. Nobody needs to know. Oh my fucking god, I'm so gay. Holy shit. Holy fucking shit. Right, that's going in the definitive music playlist. Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you, video. Stunlock a stunlock. That's right. That's right. Hey, 9,000 rats. How you doing? I would have thought searching Pika in the wild Pikachu. Right, exactly.
Fireweed is the first to stake its claim.
My fucking brain, man.
It flowers through the hazy days, and Alaskans call it summer's timekeeper. The flowers
I'm gonna listen.
unfold
You know
from
what? I fucking hate ADHD. I'm gonna end the stream tonight, and I'm literally gonna be listening to that tune like on repeat. I'm gonna be listening to it on repeat for the next 3 days. For the next 3 days.
the bottom of the plant. When they reach the top, that's the end of summer. It's a warning that despite the summer heat, The first snows of winter are only weeks away.
Come on, show me these little fucks.
High up in the tower.
Oh, here we fucking go.
There's one Alaskan who's already prepared. The collared pika.
Pika, that's how you say it. Pika. Hassan?
He's spent his entire summer hard at work.
Okay, someone needs to do like a Hassan edit about the fucking, about like just using this audio.
When the winter comes, his favorite grasses and sedges will be buried under the snow.
Okay, those are the cutest little motherfuckers I've ever seen in my life.
But he's not worried. He's been saving food for the lean months ahead.
They are just like a bunny with small ears, innit? Like a small-eared bunny. Look at it go! Oh, that's so sweet. What a beautiful
Hidden
animal.
among the rocks is his winter larder.
You know, I had to hide. You know, I had to fight against then, chat. I had to fight against the extremely human desire to own that animal, right? I was about to say I want one, but then in my head I was like, that's fucked up. That's a fucked up thing to think, innit? Like, I want one as a pet. Like, fuck. So bad. So bad. We are literally so bad. Like to meet one, yes. That would be nice. Like, out in wild, innit?
He's carefully positioned it to catch the sun's rays, which dry and cure his supply. Half a meter wide and 30 centimeters deep, this haystack is his survival rations.
Get out of town. They just, like, have a fridge.
He's chosen the contents meticulously.
Oh, they even do the little fucking cute lick that bunnies do. So smart.
He's picked some toxic plants. These will decompose.
Pica is dick in Portuguese Brazilian. Everyone's like, I want to meet a pica. I want to stroke a pica.
Slower and keep food for eating fresher for longer.
Oh, that's right. That's fucking right. Okay, they're very cute. Right, you know, something else. Another tune that I listened to for like 3 days straight on repeat because I was in $27 stream once, right? And there's a thing that all the big lefty streamers do when they have a hype train and they play like tunes. Like Lucid Fox does it, Liv Agar does it, Keffels does it. You know, it's like a thing, right? It's like a thing. And so $27 was having a hype train, and he put this on. This is one of the best tunes you'll ever fucking hear.
The government knows. The government knows. The government knows. The government knows. The government knows when you masturbate. The government knows when you masturbate. The government knows when you feel alone and it's getting late and you're sitting at home, looking straight through your webcam. Looking at you is Uncle Sam. Look him in the eyes with your balls in your hand and stick it to the fucking bed. Stare at the screen when you unpack. The government is staring back. This is how they know you best, with a dick in your right and a mouse in your left. No more interest in the Middle East, so they look at you while you touch your meat. In the middle of a truce, they put the equipment to the use. Why you think you pay the tax for drones and spies computer hacks? Tax has gone through the roof. At least it's put to good use. The government knows. The government knows. The government knows when you masturbate. The government knows when you're whacking it. The government knows when you feel alone and it's getting late and you're sitting at home. They fill the sky full of drones to check on you and your bones.
Just realized it goes super loud in the chorus.
From outer space.
just a fucking utter banger. Absolute fucking banger. Yeah, Dex, I fucking listened to a bunch. I listened to a bunch of fucking Noah when I heard this tune. I was like, that is some sick producing. That is some sick producing. The woman, the vocalist, she's fucking great. Like, just fucking everything about him, like, really, really good. Really, really good. She's called Genevieve, I think. Yeah, and the guy, Lewis Cole. I've not looked at any of Lewis Cole's stuff. But a lot of their music is really good. Like, really, really good. Like, there's that other one, Overtime. You got my heart working overtime. Butts, Tits, and Money. Yeah, that's a good one, too. Yeah. They got loads of good tunes, yeah. Anyway, back to the politics. Hello, Nils. How are you doing? Welcome to the stream. Hello.
Analyzing the work in order.
We're just, if you're just joining us, we're back. We're looking at a Cuban philosopher explaining Cuban socialism and democracy. That's what's going on. You can see it in the title, actually.
To introduce and to propose the necessary change in our system of working, etc., etc. This is a very important organ for the National Assembly.
What we've learned so far is that the Cuban democracy is not so different from UK and who do you house it? US, but it's actually more democratic. So the system is like very similar, apart from it's more like is it top down, bottom down? Like the people are at the top, right? The people are like, yeah, we choose what fucking happens, basically. They choose the elected officials and stuff like that. But of course, because they don't have, shit like a bunch of corporate lobbyists trying to make things happen all the time, it's far more democratic, right?
The National Assembly has an organ that is called Council of State. This Council of State is the organ that, between period of sessions, have some faculties.
Hello, Colossus. How are you doing?
Power of the National Assembly is an executive organ, but only some power. The highest organ of power is this, the National Assembly. Okay, now we have in Cuba 614 deputies. The Council of State has 31 members. The presidency of the National Assembly has a president, a secretary, and a vice president. All these are elected from among the deputies by the deputies.
Yeah, he's literally talking about that, Niels.
Election of second grade election. In Cuba, and we have two that we call Council of Ministers. Council of Ministers is the government of Cuban society. The government in the administrative sense, because in socialism the concept of government is quite different. It's not simply administration, but that is for another meeting. The Council of Ministers, the ministers, is not obligatory that they should be deputies. May be deputies, may not be deputies. Okay? But the Council of State, I said that has 31 members, has a presidency, he has a president, a first vice president, another vice president, and the other members. This is a collective organ of decision. The president of the Council of State has not any power as individual. Practically, the president has formal powers as individual. All decisions in this organ should be taken collectively.
So he's basically saying, for those of you that are hard of hearing or can't understand him, he's basically saying that even the president, I'm saying it like he's saying it now, the president of the Council of the State doesn't have power as an individual. Like, the decisions that are made about the Council of the State are chosen by the people, right? It's all fucking dictated by the people, basically.
Organ is subordinated to the National Assembly. Fidel, the Cuban
The Spanification of DJ Muel. Oh fucking! I don't even want to try and do a fucking Spanish accent. Honestly,
dictator,
I've
is
been having a very good time in Barcelona.
simply the president of the council.
Like one of my best mates, he's married to like a Spanish woman, and she's like the most lovely person you'll ever meet, but she's like so Spanish, like the most Spanish that you'll ever fucking meet. She doesn't want to even try and get like a British accent when she lived here. She's just literally just like, I don't fucking care. I'm gonna fucking speak how I wanna fucking speak. Oh, she's so fucking funny. But she's moved back to Spain with him now, so he's gonna come back with a Spanish accent.
Of state. Raúl,
djmuel, right? djmuel.
brother, by his merit, because of proposal of power of people who proposed him as proposed the other deputies, as deputy first, after was elected by the assembly as first vice president. That's why Raúl, now during the time Fidel was sick, was in the working as president, because by law the vice president substitute the president when the president is sick. Very normal, I think. And
Pretty normal.
The president, the vice president, Raúl, Fidel, I underline, has not almost any faculties as individual. He has another very important characteristic, I would say, that for some people is difficult to understand. Fidel has his authority because of his life, more than 50 years dedicated to fight for the rights of the people. That is more important than any power in papers. And in this sense, Fidel is not the Cuban president. It's not only that Fidel is not the dictator, because this is an organ of collective direction. Fidel is not a president because a president in another system has more faculties as individual than Fidel. Fidel, for example, he can appoint a minister, he can appoint an ambassador, etc., etc. And any president in any country appoint minister, change minister, and put their friends in the post of minister.
Right. That's literally like what they do in the UK, innit? Like they just put their fucking friends. You know, we hear about like, you know, how all the Tories in the cabinet went to Eton and they all know each other. They all went to school together, right? There's fucking none of that in Cuba. It all goes off like who the people want to be in power in it. You know what I mean? Who the people want to be a cabinet minister and shit like that. Like, you don't get that in like, this is the thing. Like, you know, people talk about like, oh, you know, is there a democracy in Cuba? Like, you know, and then like in their countries, the people who are like the prime minister, they just get to decide who's in the cabinet. You know what I mean? Like maybe there's some like element of elections held within the party or something like that, but that's not necessarily the people, is it? Do you know what I mean? Like, think about the very different kind of people that they'd have in the Tory cabinet if the people were allowed to vote, right? Do you know what I mean? I don't think Priti Patel would be in there for a start, you know? I don't think many of them would be, to be honest. Our last health minister was a banker, right? Many of the Tories, you know, got ties to financial institutions, got ties to journalistic institutions as well, you know? Client journalism.
Cuba, that is impossible because it's an organ of collective decision. I think I have spoken more than I should spoke, but I apologize. But I would like to hear your question now. I'm trying to answer.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay, we're gonna watch now. Have you watched the Azure video explaining how elections work? No, I've not, but that's going straight in the list. It's Cuba week. It's fucking Cuba week over here on my channel. Azure, Cuban elections, I guess. Is that what I'm looking for? How democracy works in Cuba? Is this it as your scapegoat? I don't know this person. 83,000 subscribers and I don't know him? That's a sub. Imagine how good Cuba would be if the US actually let it run itself. Okay. Okay. All right. This is going in the watch later. Yeah, we're going to check this out later. But for now, I wanted to show you all Sophie from Mars's video. Sophie from Mars's trans rights. I think it'll just come up if I just type that. There you go. Look at that. How good is that? You type in Sophie trans rights. The first thing that comes up is our Sophie. Fucking sick. All right. Now, content warning this for mentions of suicide, transphobia, J.K. Rowling. Sophie. And rain. content warning for thin grey ghoul. Yeah, she does talk about thin grey ghoul a lot, yeah. J.K. Rowling mentions transphobia, suicide. Go. All right, okay, that's it. I'm playing this to you because it's inspiring, not just from a trans rights perspective, but from a perspective from people who would want transparency in journalism in general, right? You know what I mean? Because here's the thing, is that, like, there's this great point, and I'll let her say it, obviously, but she talks about how there's more that connects us than divides us, in general. Generally speaking. So let Sophie inspire you.
Right. Margaret Thatcher's in hell and her fucking whips. J.K. Rowling. J.K. Rowling, world famous transphobe and part-time mediocre detective fiction author, tweeted just before the new year. I actually had to rewrite the speech. She's always tweeting something. She quoted a tweet that said, "The majority of Americans agree with J.K. Rowling. There are only two genders." And she said she doesn't believe there are only two genders. She just wants to focus on the distinction between sex and gender. She called this a minor correction. Well, she doesn't seem particularly bothered that people are using her name to perpetuate more serious bigotry. The ILGA Europe, who previously ranked the UK as top for LGBT rights in its equality index, we are now 11th, if you were wondering, said that there...
So we were first, and we've recently gone down to 11th for LGBT rights.
Said in their review of 2021 that J.K. Rowling had...
And that's not even, like, you know... Sadly, it's not even surprising.
Materially contributed to attacks on LGBT rights in the UK. I think that's pretty clear to see, and I think it extends beyond the UK as well.
Hey DJ, what's going on?
Now using "I love JK" as a shorthand for "I hate trans women," a shorthand for "I think trans men are just."
Right. Did you hear what Sophie said just then? I don't know if Sophie's going to have hidden this comment, but it's definitely a thing. I think she might have deleted the comment, but she screenshotted someone. These are all majoritively good comments, but I just want to point out that someone on this video where Sophie explicitly says people are using "I love J.K. Rowling" as shorthand for "I hate trans people," and there was someone in the comments of this video that said "I love J.K. Rowling." They know that they're doing it. It's not even like, you know, the mask is staying on anymore. They don't care. They just don't fucking care.
Misguided, brainwashed lesbians, shorthand for "I think this trans nonsense has gone too far." When Rowling tweeted a questionable comparison between police recording the gender of perpetrators according to self-ID and George Orwell's 1984...
1987, Animal House, Big Brother. How you doing, Casona Phone? What's going on? Vuvuzela iPhone. She literally did the fucking 1984 thing. Do you know what? I think J.K. Rowling mentions is like hand in hand with transphobia. So I'm just going to get rid of that. And instead I'm going to put this here. Sexual assault, because this is a thing. This is a thing that's mentioned with regards to that particular article. I'm sure you know which one we're on about. If anyone doesn't know, I'll just briefly explain it to you, but Sophie's going to point it out in a minute. There was an article done by the BBC which basically said that trans women were forcing some cis lesbians to have sex with them, right? Completely unfounded. None of the sources in that article were remotely reliable. And one of the women in the one of the women who said that, oh my god, I've had a trans woman try and rape me before, was literally a rapist. Literally, like, it doesn't get any fucking more mental than that. This is just like George Orwell's Animal Crossing, brother. Orwell was a comrade, that's right, yeah. Nah, Orwell never sold out communists, just like Stalin. Right, that's what it was, DJ. Yeah. DJ was like, the BBC was like, trans women are rapists according to this avowed cis rapist. That's right. Orwell works for British intelligence. That's right, M9000. Welcome to the stream. How you doing?
Always a good sign of intellectual curiosity and depth, in my opinion. Her tweet was shared.
But he didn't write books against socialism per se. Like he wrote books against like authoritarian socialism, like fucking like Stalinism. Like that's what he did. Like he works for British intelligence, but like the job that he had there wasn't like writing books against socialism. Yeah, that's been in the effect. Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Personalities from anti-abortion big smart debate boy Ben Shapiro all the way to open white nationalist Richard Spencer. Shapiro and Spencer each have a history of using violent rhetoric which encourages stochastic fascist terror attacks. I'm trying here to highlight how people use Rowling to push more extreme bigotry, how more extreme and dangerous bigots use her to further their reactionary goals.
So if you're unsure of what Sophie's getting at here, right? There is a huge contingent of TERFs on the internet, right? Trans exclusionary radical feminists, yeah? And a lot of these TERFs, and I know this because I was banned from Twitter once for saying to Graham Linehan that I was fucking his wife, right? Like a little joke. I was like, Graham, I'm fucking your wife. Because, you know, it's funny that he got divorced because of his unhinged views about trans women, right? Against one of the most vulnerable minorities in the history of the world, yeah? And transphobes dogpiled my account with false reports threatening violence, right? I don't know how simply reporting that I am, like, fucking his wife, which, by the way, I am, is anything like threatening violence. I'm just stating facts, right? A lot of TERFs tend to have sock puppet accounts, right? And you know what it's like on the internet, right? Sometimes you see people, they've got accounts and it's just like a picture of like a dog or something, you know what I mean? Like sometimes it's just like a picture of like some roses and they've got like the reappropriated genderqueer flag, you know, the feminist flag that Emmeline Pankhurst used and stuff like that, like the green, white and purple, yeah? And some of these accounts, like, do tend to have, like, strangely white supremacist opinions, as well as incredibly misogynistic opinions and transphobic opinions. They all just seem to go like that. Do you know what I mean? A little too easily. And that's because the reality is that these TERFs are no different from fascists. They are fascists. There's no difference. If you are convinced that one of the most vulnerable minorities in the world, literally in the world, and you are essentially like saying that they're dangerous and we need to be afraid of them, right? There's a high likelihood that you're a fucking fascist. There's just a high likelihood, you know. That's what it is. Right, Spider-Man pointing at himself, JPEG. Yeah, that's right, Spud. Yeah, 100%. You know? No, I know it's not a link. Yeah, don't click that. I don't know where it'll take you. I once told the turf to take a long walk towards the ocean and was dogpiled by people saying it was threatening violence against women. Well, that would be against the terms of service of Twitter, right? But you're not necessarily being violent towards women. I think that's wrong to say that. I think that's definitely misappropriating stuff. You're directing your anger towards a group of radical fascists, right? You know? That's what it is. Posey Parker, noted transphobic fascist, literally made a video targeting Debbie Hayton, transphobic trans person. Yeah. Saying she has to stop wearing women's clothing. Yeah, I was wondering how long it would take for them to turn on Debbie Hayton. Because Debbie Hayton is the Blair White of the UK, a terrible person, doesn't think trans people deserve rights, even though she herself is a trans person. You know? I was wondering how long that was going to take. It sucks. TikTok turf to Nazi pipeline. I've never seen that, DJ, but I'm willing to look at it. Anyway, let's go back to Sophie.
Last year, a Republican senator quoted her while voting down LGBT equality legislation in the Senate. But I'm not here to talk about J.K. Rowling. I actually don't care very much about J.K. Rowling, believe it or not. Even if I did, she is in the turf career death spiral now, with public figures distancing themselves from her over her bigotry and her continued campaigning against the rights of one of the most vulnerable and marginalized minorities in our society. One is almost tempted to imagine Joanne haunted by the spectre of Graham Linehan in her Scottish castle, the ghost of turf.
Like, this is so true. That's all that's going to happen to you if you're a fucking bigot. That's all that's going to happen to you. You will spiral out of relevancy. It happened to Graham Linehan. Graham Linehan is now desperately trying to stop the TERFs that he's created from cancelling him for having a friend who had slightly different opinions to him. It's the research you covered on stream before, how if you started watching turfy TikToks within a day, TikTok was suggesting open Nazi posts. Wait, did I cover this? Oh, I hate ADHD, man. It's the worst brain disease. TikToker demonstrates interacting with transphobic content plus the far right on the For You page. Yeah, this is shocker. Absolute shocker. Could have never thought of it.
Christmas yet to come. No, I'm not concerned by J.K. Rowling. I am concerned by institutions like the BBC, the Times, the Telegraph, the Guardian, other so-called journalistic institutions which use the cloak of journalism to draw everyone's attention to the bigotry of people like Rowling. A study by Paul Baker of Lancaster University found that between 2018 and 2019, the British press released in total 6,400 articles about trans people. We're flattered.
6,400. Listen to that again, gang. Right? Between 2018, that's not even after 2019. We've seen this number grow exponentially since 2019 and the pandemic. Transphobia in the BBC has become so unhinged compared to that time period, right? The article in question that Sophie talks about later was published after this. It was published like last year. I know that last year is not that long ago, but it was last year, yeah? It was like fucking, 4 months ago or something.
6,400 articles about trans people.
6,400.
We're flattered, really. About half the articles refer to incidents of transphobia using words like alleged or supposed. 15% put transphobia in quotes. Cute. There were hundreds of articles describing trans people as aggressive, offended, demanding, threatening, militant.
Hey, Nikki.
Bullying. And 151 mentions of the transgender lobby?
Where have you heard that kind of rhetoric before, folks? The transgender lobby? Kind of sounds like a certain cabal, doesn't it? Sounds like a certain thing that Vorsh was alluding to today. I don't know if anyone saw that. Sounds a little bit like that.
Baker goes on to say that the reporting closely resembles the reporting he studied that Muslims faced in the wake of the 9/11 terror attacks, that feminists faced in the 1990s. I would go on further to compare it to the coverage of gay people under Margaret Thatcher. God rest her soul. And in my last speech, I...
God rest her soul.
examined the similarities to reporting around the Hillsborough disaster. In 2020, just the Sunday Times alone released nearly an article every single day about trans people. Doesn't it feel like you're being blasted by a constant stream of gibberish and nonsense and thin grey gruel all the time? That's the point. It's a tactic called fire hosing in which the media overwhelm us with so much nonsense and misinformation and broadly dishonest reporting that we couldn't possibly have the time to sift through it all and refute it. When J.K. Rowling said that a man who has no intention of getting hormones or therapy can access women's spaces, the BBC reported it uncritically, Pink News called her out for misrepresenting the state of medical gatekeeping in the UK, and Channel 4 were quick to fact-check Pink News and tell them that J.K. Rowling hadn't technically said anything factually wrong. From there, we could get into a tedious discussion of how dangerous predators...
Fuck Channel 4, honestly. The entire UK media is just like such a mistake. Such a mistake.
Wouldn't really be deterred by laws around gender identity if they wanted to go into women's spaces, and how J.K. Rowling seems to think that trans women show their gender recognition certificates when they go to pee, and so on and so on. And you see how we'd be tricked into having a conversation entirely on their terms, tricked into wasting our time? I can see plenty of fact-checking, but nowhere I look can I see any critical analysis of what the media says, why it says what it says, and why it says what it says when it says it. So welcome to my speech. We're going to do some critical media analysis. Yay! Woo!
It's just like a Sophie from Mars video, but in real life. Hey, Mr. Dank, what is the trans agenda anyway? As far as I can tell, it consists of a desire to have their right to exist publicly recognized. Right! It's almost like that's all they want. Right? Hey, Amina Acid, what's going on? Channel 4 is so scared of getting privatized, it's blatantly obvious at this point. Right. I mean, that's the thing. I thought that Channel 4 was privatized. It's their privately operated franchise branch. Well, yeah, I thought they were, yeah. But obviously it's the, like you say, I think it is like closely associated with the BBC, for sure. I don't know what the relation is between like ITV and Channel 4 and the BBC, but yeah, I'm willing to believe that they're closely associated. Is Channel 4 like PBS here in the USA, public broadcast service? Nah. Like Channel 4 is the better, but not great. You know what I mean? Like Channel 4 is good, but not great. But like fuck them for saying shit like that, right? Right, I remember when Channel 4 was good back in the day, I do, yeah. Yeah, sometimes it's still pretty based in showing some international stuff. It's still in the grip of power, yeah, I agree, yeah. And hi, Vordrella, how are you doing? You okay?
Yeah.
Been pissed for at least 10 years,
Last year
yeah.
in August, we protested outside Downing Street and explained in no uncertain terms that trans people face...
Do you know what? I've not really watched telly in the last 4 years, in the last 10 years. That's why I'm sat here like, yeah, I thought they were pretty based.
An exterminationist project from bigots in power, and that there is a human rights crisis for trans people in our country right now. The mainstream media didn't even remotely touch it. We know they were aware of it. We know some journalists. We know they knew about it. They didn't report on it at all. The BBC are happy to report on J.K. Rowling's tweets. They're happy to regurgitate the vile lies of hate groups. But their commitment to impartiality doesn't extend as far as showing the speeches that we gave last year, talking about the people that we've lost to suicide, the years and years of struggling against the system that wants us dead, and the true human reality of trans lives. What the media chooses to cover and what it chooses to ignore is incredibly telling. After I gave my speech, it transpired there had been a little fascist creep in the audience. who was taking videos and pictures upskirting me on stage to send to
If you remember, this was literally the reason that me and Sophie became friends, because I saw this shit. I had known of Sophie like before this and like seen a bit of their content. But when I saw this, I was like, I need to get Sophie on the stream to talk about this, because this is like so horrible. It's not fucking fair. Do you know what I mean? Like, she needs like people who are gonna like stand alongside her against this fucking bullshit. And I hate Andy Ngo. I hate Andy Ngo so much. Like, the little fucking shitty fascist piss baby. Like, I cannot stand that guy. Do you know what I mean? The fact that he's like got the gall to dogpile a trans woman, right? Doing his speech about trans rights at a trans rights protest. Yeah, like, just such a disgusting piece of shit.
fascist collaborator Andy Ngo, who shared it with his audience of nearly 1 million people. Andy Ngo is a far-right journalist.
Andino. I don't know if these CC are like auto-generated or if Sophie's added them. Andino. Okay, that's funny. Andino. It's in the implication, right? It's in the implication of what Andy Ngo caters to. Andy Ngo's audience are fascists. Andy Ngo's audience, or at least he would admit, conservatives. Yeah? Conservatives don't like trans people. They just don't. It's just how it is. It's rare. It's rare as fuck to find a conservative that likes. You know how it's like rare to find a conservative gay, but they do exist? It's even rarer to find a conservative trans person, and even rarer to find any other kind of conservative that likes trans people. Do you know what I mean? Right, even trans conservatives don't like trans people necessarily, right? So, you know, yeah, I think we should start spamming Andino's content with Andino, yeah. Andino Fasciarino. Shiny Pokemon rare, right? So, you know, that's his audience. And then if you're gonna like quote tweet a trans woman who is sadly having like a bit of a wardrobe malfunction, you know what I mean? And on like a windy day. Yeah, if you're gonna quote tweet that, and then like, I can't remember what he said. He said something like, it was just like, look at this trans person, you can see their underwear, right? He might not have said, that trans person is a degenerate, that trans person doesn't deserve rights, this, that, and the other. But because of his audience, what they're primed to believe, it's in the implication of what he tweets that they would go and harass her. And they did. You know? You say that, but my sister's boyfriend, who literally works for the Tories, is perfectly cordial with me. A very much not passing trans femme. Yeah, but that's like works for the Tories. You can work for the Tories and not be a Tory. You know, like civil servants. There are like the civil servants who like leaked the video of Matt Hancock doing the thingy. Oh, he's a Tory? Yeah, I mean, and here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. So that's different, right? That's like a family relation. And there are multiple stories around the world of situations where like fascists have like actually had to socialize with marginalized people, right? They've had, you know, it's like a documented thing. One big example that I can think of, two big examples that I can think of are, there was a black guy that went around trying to befriend Ku Klux Klan members, right? Now, I just want to state, before anyone gets the wrong idea about this, I'm not saying that the way that we fight fascism is make marginalized people go and befriend fascists. I don't think that's right. What I'm saying is, in response to what you're saying, Amina, is that humans are basically good, right? So when someone becomes a fascist, they tend to be so far removed from any kind of marginalized person that it's easy for them to see them as the villain. They don't know them, they don't operate near them or anything like that. Or if they do get so far into the ideology that they're like solidified in their fascistness, their fasciness, but they still live like around, like in the immediate area of some of the people, they won't interact with them, right? They'll be like, no. That's it, Shafiq. They'll define marginalized people they know as one of the good ones. Because humans are basically good. That's the absurd thing about fascism, right? And that's why capitalism loves fascism. Because it's so absurd, it's a useful tool to keep people separated and divided, innit? Right? You'll get that shit all the time. I remember watching a documentary. It was this one Pakistani woman. She went to... Wait, I don't think she was Pakistani. I think she was of Pakistani descent. And she lived in the UK. Right, that's what it was. And she went over to a bunch of Nazis, neo-Nazis in the US. You know, like these really hardcore ones that have their own, like... You know, like the ones that, like, Louis Theroux went to see back in the day? They have their own fucking communes and shit. Right? And she went over there and she was, like, interviewing this guy and speaking to him. You know, the amount of interviews went on and on and on. And obviously she asked the question. She was like, well, listen, you speak about, like, subhuman species all the time, subhuman races and stuff like that. But, like, I'm brown. So, you know, why are you not acting like you would, like you're saying you would, to subhuman species to me? And he said that literal line, what Shafiq said. You're not like them. You're one of the good ones. Right? And the way that it escalated is that they maintained a relationship after this, a friendship, right? And it culminated with him abandoning the movement, and she went with him to get his swastika tattoo removed, right? Now, again, that's not the way to win fascists, right? It's not. And what Mr. Fishy says in the chat is absolutely right. Sometimes shit like that is used in liberal fascists are people too arguments. Now, I will go so far as to say that fascists are people too, like by definition, right? They're horrible people. They're disgusting people. They don't deserve a platform. They don't deserve free speech, right? They don't deserve to be in society, yeah? However, they are human too, and they have human nature. And the thing is that they will literally get... No, I get your meaning, right? I get your meaning. Liberals use it to be like, oh, we should debate them in the marketplace of ideas, rather than we should just fucking, like, you know, rehabilitate them somehow. I don't know. It's a conversation that the left needs to have eventually, right? How the fuck do we rehabilitate fascists, you know? It's one of those things. I don't believe in human nature as a quantifiable element. Okay. That's up to you, but I do, and I know it is, because I've seen it so many times. People are basically good. They are. There's no... Until you introduce the ideas of fascism, neoliberalism, and capitalism to a human, humans do not exhibit desires of greed, nastiness, and hatefulness, right? They don't exhibit those behaviors. Unless they're taught them. These things are taught. Humans are basically good. Jesse Gender tweeted kind of about this earlier, but in regards to like blue-collar white folk who typically lean conservative. Well, it's because that's what people are taught, innit? Dehumanizing and othering fascists too much makes you ignore how almost everyone can end up propping up fascism. Yeah, I mean, this is like a huge conversation to have, right? Well, certainly a thing that can happen. I would argue there's simply too many of them to try and convince them one by one. Exactly, which is why it's not going to happen like that, right? The way that we have to, like, okay, look, I'm not going to get into semantics about this and what I'm saying, but, like, I believe it. You cannot believe it if you want. You can try and fucking deconstruct it. You could be like, human nature, like, you know... Like what Sork is saying, like, human nature is a lot more specific. It's saying that goodness is a human nature thing implies that we're the good ones in nature. Whatever. I'm not saying that. Like, don't misrepresent me. That's not what I'm saying. Yeah? Not saying that. Like, let's not get into semantics about that, yeah? I believe it. You do what you want. Not bothered. And it's not going to change anything, right? It's just my belief. Okay? Anyway, the long and short of what I'm saying is... I forgot why we were even saying it. Yeah, I fucking hate ADHD. Let's listen to Sophie.
Who sends the names of anti-fascist activists to known neo-Nazi terrorist groups.
Right, exactly 9,000. Yeah, the products of, the bad parts of what we call human nature have their origin in class society. Yes.
Such as Atomwaffen. These upskirt photos were more coverage than our...
It was because Amina was talking about her sister's boyfriend liking her. Right, exactly. Yeah, that's sorry.
...got from the entire British media. My speech, for those unaware, was about the way that the media lie and manipulate the public into fighting against our own best interests. I got sympathy from many for the harassment I faced, but still, people weren't engaging with what the speech had been about. Eventually, I was interviewed by Vice, an American publication, about the harassment, and my one request was that they include a link to the speech, because no one was talking about it. They were only talking about the harassment. I had to ask Vice to include it because I made a whole speech about the corruption of the British media and how they manipulate us, and all anyone was talking about was my underwear. Anyone aware of the basic facts here can see this as what it is: bog standard bigoted harassment and misogyny. But institutions like this one have somewhat of a vested interest in keeping people as far away from the facts as possible. Gendered Intelligence and the Good Law Project are now organising to sue the government to end the NHS medical discrimination that trans people face, which is fantastic. But mark my word.
Right, Origamized. Yeah, there are plenty of good philosophical critiques of human nature, but that's not relevant to how greedy and evil parts of how people act are products of capitalism and exploitative systems. Right, that's what I mean by getting pedantic. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that what you're saying is right. Like, it's not relevant to what I'm talking about, you know? Yeah, sure. Like, you know, humans aren't necessarily the good ones in nature. If you want to digress like that. You know, in how we've treated other animals in the past due to our nature and wanting to survive, but then you could argue that animals have done similar things. Whatever. Like I said, it's fucking pedantic as fuck. I'm not doing it. Hello, George. How you doing? Happy New Year, pal. Welcome in. Thank you for loving the beard. I'm loving the beard and all. It's pretty good, isn't it?
They are going to ramp up their attacks on trans people to distract from it as much as possible. The nonsense, the gibberish, the thin grey gruel is going to get worse before it gets better. I am sure that at this protest today we will hear the details of Caroline Lowbridge's article, "We're being pressured into sex by some trans women," many times. And likewise the story of how Lily Cade, a cis lesbian interviewed for the article, was a known serial rapist that Lowbridge chose to interview despite another interviewee who was cut from the piece telling her that Lily Cade was such. Or how Cade used the platform she was given to publish a document calling for the genocide of trans women only 2 days later. I won't hash out all the details again here.
Fucking horrible piece of shit.
The biggest journalistic institution in the country I have lived in almost my entire life published an article calling people like me rapists, associating our basic inherent characteristics with rape. The article's only named source was herself a serial rapist. The author deemed this attack on trans women more important than the trivial, unimportant, tiny information that her only named source was herself a rapist. The surreality of this experience tests my descriptive power, and I write for a living. Seeing this article, I broke down in tears. This is the culmination of daily, constant attacks that people like me face. Interrogation of our lives, speculation about our genitals, guessing over whether we are a threat to others. It never...
Right, just imagine that, chat, for a minute, right? If there's any cis people in chat, and I know there are, and I know that if you're a cis person in my chat, you're likely to be sympathetic to trans people, you're likely to be a trans ally, right? But if you're not, just in case you're not, just imagine that for a minute, right? Just imagine that for a minute. Not only do you deal with the everyday transphobia that just exists in society. At the trans rights protest I went to on Saturday, in Manchester, there was a trans woman who said that one time she was walking down the street and a man jumped out of her way. She said, "Why did you do that?" And he said, "Oh, sorry, no, I didn't mean to do it like that." Confused, obviously, like, but he's like, he doesn't know what to make of her, right? He looks at her, he clocks her, he doesn't know what to make of her. And then after, like, a few stumbling words, the guy's like, "Why don't you come and suck my dick?" Right? So, like, Not just like being viewed as a sex object, as like a freak, as like something that's not right. You know what I mean? Like, you know, every day, on a daily basis, like every day trans people step out of the house and they have to potentially deal with that, right? You know, thinking like, is today the day I get fucking jumped? Is today the day I got fucking punched? Or like chased out of a toilet, right? Because that's what the rhetoric in the media makes people think. You know? They're like trying to get people to like attack trans people in fucking toilets. You know? Or stop them from using them or whatever, right? Dealing with that on a daily basis and then seeing article after article after article after article of you know, not just microaggressions, but serious shit, right? Serious fucking accusations of like trans women being rapists, right? And you see that fucking article, and you see the content of the article, and you know it's all bollocks, right? Because you know yourself, innit? You know yourself as a trans person that it's not like that. You're not like that. People aren't like that, just in general, right? You know what I mean? Heartbreaking. Heartbreaking. Extremely fucked up. My brother went through similar when we were younger. Where I grew up, gay lads were labeled as pedos. It's all recycled. Every single bit of it. You're spot on. You're spot on, bro. The shit that they say about trans people now is the shit they were saying about gays and lesbians in the 80s. And the 90s. It continued. You know? It's the same fucking shit. Which makes me sick to my stomach to see queer people not fucking getting involved in this. As a queer person, I know that my struggle is intrinsically connected to the trans struggle, right? It is. In the same way that the trans struggle is intrinsically connected to the class struggle, you know? It's connected to black liberation. It's connected to indigenous liberation. It's everything, every kind of liberation, right? So for queer people to sit there and not get involved, that makes me sick. It makes me fucking sick. I've chosen not to go into a gender toilet way more than I've chosen just to relieve my basic human functions, and I fucking pass. Right. Right. Trans women get the worst of it for sure. I'm a really small, fairly soft-featured trans mass person. Not one single time has ever decided my need to piss was a threat to anyone. Right. It's exactly the same. You could replace the word trans with gay and it would read the same. Yep. As a teen, I was bullied, and one thing was to be repeatedly asked if I had a dick. It was nothing to do with trans. I am cis, but it still hurt like hell. I could just imagine how bad this bullying must be for an adult trans person. It must be so much worse. Transphobia affects women, cis women, in a similar way. Do you know what I mean? Like, there are stories of TERFs. There are literally stories of TERFs who've gone into fucking bathrooms and been questioned as to whether they're trans. Right? No, it didn't send twice. No, Automod blocked it. It doesn't matter. Don't worry. You know, so that's why this is, you know, the rhetoric is so absurd. Like, transphobia hurts cis women too. Because trans women are women, like, whether you fucking like it or not, you know what I mean? That's just how it is.
Never stops, it is constant. The BBC published an article platforming a serial rapist who used that platform that they gave her to write a genocidal manifesto calling for the execution of trans women, the lynching of trans women in the public eye, and the gang rape of the mother of a trans child. The BBC published that article calling trans women rapists when the BBC, it is a known fact, spent decades covering for the vile actions of men like Jimmy Savile. Doesn't it feel like you're being blasted with their thin grey gruel all the time? It's a distraction, while our government slips in terrifying authoritarian policies. Our government right now is organizing to strip us of our right to protest. They're pushing through bills that would take away people's passports for drug offenses and strip people of their citizenship without warning or notice. This country is rapidly sliding into becoming a police state. And institutions like this one are publishing articles framing trans women as a threat to the safety of cis women. I know who is a threat to the safety of women because I know who killed Sarah Everard.
Right. Right. Y'all know who killed Sarah Everard, innit? Let's get a fucking ACAB in the chat, folks. Really appreciate the stream and all the folks in here. I've learned so much from all of you about these kind of things. How can be better? Yeah, fuck yeah. Hiya, Becca. Sorry I missed you in the chat, love. Although at the minute I'm confused on my gender, the amount of times these people have specifically said to me, since I started streaming in 2013, people calling me a man, saying I look like a man, etc. It makes zero sense to me. I'm genuinely confused on their logic. Yeah, it's sheer. It's right. So when you're in a privileged position, like fucking, you know, like you're a cis man, right? You know, you sit in your privilege, yeah, and you know that anyone who challenges things that you rely on, like cisness, masculinity, stuff like that, it's you know, that's a threat to you. Yeah, that's what you're taught. You're taught that it's a threat to you, but in reality, it's not. Like, in the queer utopia, right? In the queer anti-patriarchal utopia that most leftists want, right? And also, you know, is this the right word to say racially liberated? You know, where we defeat racism. In the utopia that we want for human rights and civil rights, right? Men are included. Cis men are actually included in that. Do you have any idea how much of a relief it was for me as a cis man to throw off any desire to be a toxically masculine individual? I'm still trying to do it. It's liberation. Like, men's liberation is a legit thing. The patriarchy harms us so much. But they will sit and go to streamers like Becca and do the work of the patriarchy, the cishet white patriarchy. They'll be like, yeah, you look like a man. Because it gives them a laugh, because they're taught that that's what's funny. That's the height of comedy to them. It was to me when I was a fucking, do you know what I mean? Well, I am obviously a cis man, but when I was a fucking toxically masculine individual, you know? It's the height of fucking comedy. 1323, it's 1312, actually. Mr. Fishy. Almost. I like what you said as well, George. Taxi. People get so hyped for getting rid of Boris Johnson. Hyped for Priti Patel as PM. Shit. Sarcasm. I don't know what you're meaning with that. Boris has to go, but the obsession with him as the one and only problem in British politics right now is lib shit. Do you know what it is, Sorka? It's the same as people who call, like, Trump the Cheeto in the White House. You know, do you remember that? When libs were like, there's a Cheeto in the White House, look out! And it's like they never did anything to dissect the huge problems with the electoral system in the US anyway, and that Biden is literally the same as Trump and has changed nothing that Trump has done other than doesn't vocally advocate for white nationalists to not be scared, right? Like, what do they think? What do they think Priti Patel's gonna do? What do they think fucking, what's his name? What's the other guy's name? Oh, fuck. Not Sajid Javid. Oh, fucking hell, I can't remember the guy's name. He's like the money guy. He's the money guy. I can't remember his fucking name. Anyway, any fucking Tory. Michael Gove, Rishi Sunak, right? Yeah, Rishi Sunak. Like, you know, any of these people, it's not going to be any fucking better. It's not going to be any fucking better than Boris Johnson, because it's still the Tories. You know? The libs here jumped in with the Tories rather than Labour, remember? So they proved how they really are. Oh, that's right. Yeah, oh, that's right, dude. That's fucking right. 100%. Abso-fucking-lutely. Saw a Wall Street Journal article suggesting Dems should run Hillary again. Fuck off. Of course the Wall Street Journal would run that. Of course. Gone through various gender internal conversations and decided I'm a cis man. I was genderqueer for a bit, but now I just don't ascribe to general masculinity, even though I'm a man. Also, the fact that my experience could be twisted by an anti-trans person is gross. Right, exactly. I don't know why auto-mod terms don't come up for me to approve or deny. I did it pretty quick, Becca, so that might be it. I don't know. Are you still using Chatterino, by the way? Anyway, so watch this. I get to them pretty quick, don't I? Yeah. Yeah, because I fucking hate auto mod. I feel like we don't really need auto mod anymore because we don't actually get any chuds in here anymore. Since we like fucking thingied. Since we like changed the thing so that people need to have their like email address verified and shit, we don't really get any chuds anymore. Because I feel like we were just getting harassed by like the same person making like new accounts all the time. We don't really see that anymore.
BBC, the Beeb, gave J.K. Rowling an award for her willingness to stand up to us scary transgenders. They said it was for the defense of free speech. I say it was an award for producing their thin grey gruel for them. They would love if I spent this whole speech talking about J.K. Rowling. They would love for us to spin our wheels, focusing on individual bigots. They might even give me an award if I could give an impassioned enough defense of transhumanity and trans rights and freedom and against the same people they already gave awards to. So, at the risk of repeating myself, if there are any journalists around here who are interested in the truth,
I think you're right, Oregon.
I have some news you might want to report. We're bringing the fight to you now. We see you. You don't get to be invisible anymore. We see you, we see your nonsense for the distraction that it is, and you aren't going to waste our time anymore. If the BBC or Channel 4 or anyone working there or any other major journalistic institution wants to break this cycle of pathetic, craven pan...
Just look at my man in the background here. I don't know if this person was like a part of the protest, right? I don't know if this person's a part of the protest, like, you know, it's hired security or something, or if it's like part of the BBC, but I want to feel like he's part of the BBC security, right? And it looks like he's like, they're like fully listening, like fully listening. You know what I mean? Because this person doesn't seem like, you know, they're not interested, like, you know, the body language doesn't seem like, you know, because normally someone will be sat there. The security guards at the BBC in Salford, right? Because there was about 14 people at the trans rights protest in Salford, yeah? The security guards there at the BBC were stood there like this. My man's not looking like that. He's not looking like that. I don't know. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? If they got through to at least like this guy who was there working for the BBC, you know? What could that change? Who knows? It takes a little tiny spore amongst millions to make a mushroom in it, to create some mycelium. And then from that mycelium, a mushroom will spring. Right? That's how they perma look at any office. Yeah, right, they do, yeah. A BBC security might have a conversation in the break room. Right. All it takes is a conversation. The security guard I saw wasn't wearing high vis. Yeah, but it's not going to be the same all across the thingy, is it? Mad how the right wing moan about their right to free speech, but don't respect anyone's right to self-expression. Right, yeah. And sometimes they don't even like free speech. We were talking about this yesterday. Do you think that a right-winger would be okay with someone saying, right, with like a pedo saying that they want to go out and molest children? Do they think that they would want... Do you think that a right-winger would want that person to have no consequences for saying that? That's the gotcha for that argument, honestly. You know, whenever you hear a fucking motherfucker, oh, well, it depends on the right winger. Libertarians, yeah, we said this yesterday. Libertarians aren't going to be bothered about that because they'll respond with like, well, it depends if it's a ephebophilia. What do they call it? Ebophilia? Whatever. Ebophilia? I don't know. But you know what I mean? It's always their free speech. You're right. Yeah. They just want freedom from consequences. They have free speech. They just want freedom from consequences, right?
Pandering to the ruling class, I ask of you what I asked of Vice: share this speech in full. Share our speeches in full. If you don't, you're cowards. But that's okay, I already knew you were cowards. But if you do, well, we'll see. To be clear, I have nothing but respect for journalists who speak truth to power, and I have nothing but contempt for institutions like this one that
Yeah, that's right. It doesn't matter if they say it's a phoebophilia or not. It's still nonsing, right? It's still noncery.
seek to divide and pacify people and distract from the inhuman cruelty of our government. So, I'll speak now to the people the BBC will not show my speech to. If you would, please share this to them yourselves. If you would like, tell them what I have to say in your own words. Ahem. They want you to see the people all around you as dangerous criminals so they can do anything they want to all of us together. They work hard at telling you that trans people aren't ordinary working class people. We're all pink-haired, university-educated communists, am I right? Because they want you to see us as not having any interests in common. But the truth is, we have more in common with one another than we could possibly ever have with the ruling class or their media stooges. I know that you're tired of their gibberish, of their nonsense, of their thin grey gruel.
There is more that connects us than divides us. And I'll stand by that 100%. Doesn't matter how many conversations we have about like human nature or anything like that. That is fucking true. We have so much more in common with a working class Tory, for example, even though we don't like to admit it, than we do with any of the ruling class. With any of them. Also, hi Pinklon, by the way. I did see you in the chat before. Not of normal criminal element. It was put on their cell cards years ago. That's where it's from. Yo, I never knew where nonce was from. Yo, chat, we've all learned today. Nonce means not of normal criminal element, right? Fucking hell. We all like pizza. We need to join together against non-pizza lovers. Okay, now, you see, nah, that's not what I was talking about. That's just Italians being the opposite of Italophobia, right?
I know you don't feel seen or heard or represented by the media. I know you don't feel like they speak for you. We don't feel like they speak for us either. But this isn't a tug of war between us over whose side gets represented. Everyone feels like the media aren't representing them because their job, their real job, the one they really do for the people they really work for, the ruling class of this country, is to make you feel like they're siding with me and make me feel like they're siding with you.
Yeah!
When in reality, they're on the side of the politicians, the big businesses, the side of power, against the side of the people, against the truth and against reality. They don't serve you, they don't serve me, they serve power. I don't want you to learn complicated gender theories or finicky rules to interact with me. I just want you to treat me with basic human decency and respect. And you know what? When I meet people in real life, that's exactly what they do, and it's always fine. Somehow, nonetheless, people come away with the impression that trans people are easily
Thank you for the follow.
offended, socially domineering, quick to judge people for getting unspoken rules wrong. That is a picture of me the media wants you to have. All I want you to know about trans people is how wondrous the experience is of finding the person that you were always supposed to be and becoming them. I want you to know about trans joy. I want you to know about trans happiness. I want you to know how much better it gets for trans people when all of the barriers are down and we can just be ourselves.
Fuck yeah.
I want you to be happy for us so that when someone in your life comes out as trans, and believe me, they will, you can say what we always say. Good for them. I'm so happy for you. Don't they look happier every single day? I'm so glad that you're you, and I wouldn't want you to be anybody else or have to pretend to be anybody else anymore. Share this speech in full. Share our speeches in full. Join me in no longer accepting their nonsense, their gibberish, their thin grey gruel. Join me in understanding exactly what its purpose is and saying to these institutions who want to remain invisible, we see you!
Yeah!
And once we can reject their nonsense and see what really matters here, they can't distract us anymore, they can't make us fight each other anymore. Once we can see what they're doing and who they're doing it for and what it really is, we can finally work together to make a society that works for the many and not just for the few. Thank you.
Fuck yeah!
My partner
Claps in the
Natalie
chat,
would like
claps
to
in
make
the
a short
chat.
remark.
Hi, I'm Natalie. I'm Sophie's partner.
Yo, what's going on, Laura? How you doing? Welcome in, welcome in. Damn right, trans rights are human rights. I know you're a streamer. You're getting a shout out. Pepega clap. Casona. Fuck yeah.
I had to say something about the Caroline Lowbridge article in particular. I'm sorry to interrupt. I was there crying with Sophie when we read the Caroline Lowbridge article. Any woman who loves women, anyone who calls himself a feminist, should be horrified and disgusted at that article. Middle-class transphobic bigots like Caroline see women who love women as pure vestiges of virginity to be protected from spoilage by male influence. They frame us as brainwashed and in need of their protection for loving trans women. They are paternalistic, they are misogynistic and possessive of our lives and our bodies, our choices over who we love. This is hideously familiar. Women and children are always weaponized to fearmonger and drive violence against minorities. They don't get to do it in my name. We are not your fucking virgins. It's my body and it's my fucking choice. Fuck you, Caroline Lowbridge.
Yeah! Go on, Nat! Go off, Nat! Fucking go off! I fucking love these women. Fuck yeah! Fucking damn right. 100%. Fucking absolute fucking power couple. Absolute fucking power couple. Yeah, buzzing. Yeah, and you know that's the fucking thing, isn't it? Like, you know, it's so like very, very, very like basic human rights shit. Do you know what I mean? That's all it is. That's all trans people want. You know what I mean? Yeah, you should be welling up. I had the privilege of watching this on Bad Bunny's stream last night, so I cried then. I've not cried on stream yet. It might happen, but we'll see. That's not a toxic masculine thing, by the way. I'd be happy to. It just hasn't come about. But I'd be worried about you if that didn't make you cry. If that didn't give you any sort of emotion whatsoever. You know what I mean? All right, maybe you don't have to fucking cry, but it should at least make you feel something, right? Should at least make you feel something. We're actually going to watch Laura Kate Dales now. Feeling something. Very, very nodders.
Just before we continue,
Right. This one's a little shorter. You can do the clap BTTV emote in the chat. Fucking Casona. It's just like capital C-L-A-P. C-L-A-P. All I want is to be able to walk down the street with a Starbucks iced latte without noticing and feeling people staring, people nudging their partners, people from across the street pointing and laughing, thinking I can't see them. It's not fucking hard. Just let me be a basic bitch. Damn fucking right. And that's what we're going to get for you. That's what we're going to fucking get. It'll happen. Promise you. 100%. Or I'll die trying. Yeah, you remember emotions? Yeah, I love feeling shit. I love feeling shit.
just like to give a massive thank you to all of our guest speakers who came here to speak today.
Oh my god, Pink, thank you so much for gifting a sub to Hey Laura Blake. Laura, enjoy your ad-free viewing, your sub badge, and your emotes. Thank you, Pink. I appreciate you. Clap is okay, but it's no nodders. I'm going to change Peepo Riot for nodders. Because Origamized has a bit of an issue with Peepo Riot that I never thought before, and that is that it does look like the fucking Unite the Right fucking Tiki Torch thing. So we'll get nodders. We'll get nodders. I hate emotions. I can't control mine. Oh, yeah, you see, that's different. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's different.
Our last speaker today is our own Laura Kate Dale, whose pronouns are she, her.
Thank you so much, everyone who's come out today.
Mr. Fishy, thank you so much for the Prime Gaming. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much for subbing. Thank you so much for using your Bezos money to support the stream. I appreciate you. I'd like to ask everyone, if they're going to sub or donate or anything like that, please wait until the end of these speeches, because this is important shit. I'll do a whole spiel about how I need money after this. Don't worry about it. Oh, she's got blue hair and pronouns? Of course! Knew it. I knew it. All right, Dave. Thank you so much for being here, pal. Take it easy, yeah? Thank you for stopping by. All right, let's big that. Play it.
This is the first time I'm seeing the whole crowd, and thank you. Once upon a time, the BBC loved to hear what I had to say. They saw me as an expert and would regularly point to me as someone who was worthy of being listened to, so long as I stuck to video games. When some kid would win a Fortnite tournament and the BBC News needed to know what this game all the kids were playing was and why it was popular, I'd get calls from 10 or 12 different regional BBC radio stations asking me to tell them Googleable facts that it's a 100-player shooter, blah, 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 blah. It's an explanation they could have gotten from any simple internet search. But they got me back again and again to share it, because they saw me as an expert whose opinion was important to hear. The same has happened for years for me. Maybe it's Fortnite, maybe it's Doki Doki Literature Club and they want someone to explain about why it looks cute but it's horror. I've been in this very building many times. I sat in this building to talk about Doki Doki Literature Club. I've talked about so many video games in there. I've sat in their bright TV studios justifying the existence of various forms of media because I was an expert they wanted to hear from. I was seen as well-spoken, knowledgeable and worthy of hearing from without any need for balance. They didn't need someone who hated video games to be placed opposite me because they knew as an expert my opinion could stand without counterbalance. They didn't feel the need to turn my opinion on video games into a debate. For years, I existed on a little piece of paper or a virtual database somewhere in the BBC. Anytime a new video game console came out or a game was expected to be the fastest selling ever or something like that, I'd get calls asking me to tell the BBC what I knew, because I had the experience and the expertise needed to debunk misunderstandings and share an account of things as they were. The one time I mentioned being trans in a pre-recorded BBC radio interview, it was edited out and did not make it to air. Once upon a time, the BBC decided to parade me around like a light-hearted good news story, while desperately trying to erase my transness from that narrative. Back in August of last year, my wife and I made UK news for getting married on a train together. Funnily enough...
Which was dope, by the way. I saw a bunch of pictures from that wedding. It looked really fucking cool. Imagine getting married on a train. That's sick. That's sick.
A few days after the last one of these protests we did.
Yeah, right, yeah. The editing out that she's trans from an interview that she did, clearly deliberate. Clearly deliberate.
I'm autistic and I love trains, and we won a competition to get married on a moving train together. Wedding dress provided, meals, free booze, beautiful, wonderful day. Our wedding made UK news because the train company that ran the competition did so for free promotion. I get it makes sense. I bring this all up because the press release about my wedding talked about a lot of very specific things. It talked about my being autistic and my love of trains. It talked about how me and my wife had taken that particular train journey together early in our relationship. But it also spoke about why it had taken us so long to get around to getting married after we got engaged. Myself and my wife are both trans women, and factors such as waiting on the results of GRA consultation reform, the lack of change that came from the consultation, the time-consuming bureaucratic process of trying to navigate the gender recognition process, and more were a big part of our story and part of that press release. We couldn't get married as wife and wife sooner than we did because the UK forces trans people to jump through expensive, time-consuming, dehumanising hoops, changing their birth certificate just to get married under the title and gender they've lived as for years. It's a big part of why we won the competition. They wanted to treat us to a wedding we'd been fighting for. How does this relate to the BBC? Well, when the BBC got their hands on the press release and started parading our wedding around as a feel-good news story, they regurgitated much of that press release word for word, paragraph for paragraph. Every TV and radio channel on the BBC that covered it, as well as their online news article, covered every aspect.
You know what's coming, don't you? I think everybody in the chat knows what she's going to say next.
Of our story. The one exception, which came up time and time again, was our being trans. That was conveniently left out of our story more often than not.
Unsurprising. Disappointing, but unsurprising, right?
We had a few radio interviews where we mentioned it ourselves, but without our intervention, the BBC was happy to leave that out of our story. They were plenty happy to talk about the cute, happy train lesbians having their unique, cute wedding. They didn't want to frame us as two happy, loving, cute, feel-good trans women. I cannot prove that this was malicious or deliberate or coordinated, but I sure couldn't shake my suspicions about how it all played out. Once upon a time, the BBC really didn't want to hear what I had to say. Despite more than 50 BBC appearances over the span of 3 years, the BBC no longer reaches out to me as an expert to talk about video games. I am honestly not surprised.
And let's face it, right? Let's say that it wasn't malicious or purposeful, right? Let's give them the benefit of the doubt here, which is obviously not true, right? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether it was like maliciously or like not done maliciously or like just forgotten about, right? Because it's the same. Because if you're running a news outfit that doesn't mention trans people in a positive light ever, literally ever, you might as well mention them in a negative light. And they do that all the time anyway. So we of course know that it was done on purpose and it was done maliciously. Because the BBC has an institutional transphobia problem. Institutional. They do not want to see, and this is speculation, but I guarantee there's something here. The people who run the BBC are Tories. That's just a fact. Right, if it's not deliberate, it's systemic, and that's worse, right? The Tories run the BBC, right? The Tories run Ofcom. The head of Ofcom. The institution that is supposed to hold the BBC and the UK media accountable is a Tory peer. He's a Tory fucking peer. Right? The Tories are invested in the system known as capitalism, right? They're invested in it. Absolutely fucking invested in it. They do not want something like gender, right, to just be fucking abolished, right? They don't want people's ideas about gender to change. They don't want trans people to have liberation, right? They very, 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 like, you know, reluctantly were like, okay, you know, maybe we'll run some positive, you know, stories about gay people or lesbians, right? Do you know what I mean? I don't know how often they speak about fucking bisexual people. And I can't imagine how lesbians who are allies to trans women feel about being used as a crutch in this horrific abuse, right? You know? They don't want people to see that things like gender, which are social constructs, by the way, the only reason that women are seen as people who stay in the house, do the washing up, do the laundry, look after the kids in that patriarchal manner, is because those are the roles assigned to them in society. It's nothing to do with nature. Nothing to do with it. There's been examples of women doing the opposite of that all throughout history, and it happens all the time today. You should know this. Most of you should know this, right? Gender is a fucking construct. So if they see things like that being not just like deconstructed, but abolished, and trans people liberating themselves, and people liberating themselves of gender entirely, then people will start to think, well, what else can we abolish? Right? People will start to think, well, hang on, if we can, like, change that, what else can we change? You know? Can we, like, abolish fucking racism? Can we abolish classism? Can we abolish money? Can we abolish the state? You know? It's shit like that. It's shit like that. When everyone you hire, either one, aren't trans, or two, have never met a trans person, they have no incentive, will or want to be trans inclusive. Exactly, yeah, exactly. That's literally how it went for me. Like, okay, gender is bullshit. What else? Right. Most trans people know this. Once you sit there and go, okay, gender doesn't mean anything. And then you'll go, oh, well, you know what? Fuck it, money. We don't need money. If we wanted to, we could feed the world 7 times over, right? With all the money that we have in the world, right? With like one of the billionaires that we have in the world, right? But what if we just didn't have money? What if we just fed people because that's what they should get? Anyway, I'm digressing. Let's listen to the rest of Laura's speech.
The BBC has for many years had a problem with mounting institutional transphobia across its news reporting and opinion features departments. This is not a secret but an observable fact. From their increasing platforming of anti-trans activists and hate groups as unbiased sources, to their behind-the-scenes rule that trans people cannot appear without anti-trans balance, their spouting of misinformation about the trans community, to their growing unwillingness to correct even basic misgendering in quotes they publish. This has been a long-time issue that, over the last 5 or so years, has only gotten worse. As those of you here today likely know, this came to a head a few months ago with an article on BBC News that stopped legally shy of accusing trans women as a societal group of being potential rapists and a threat to cis lesbians. They may have used the term some, and they will insist that this is enough to imply that this was a story about a minority of experiences, but you just have to look at social media reaction to the piece to see that it was read by the general public as a warning. It was read by the general public the way we all knew it would be, that most trans people are potential rapists and we should stop them by clamping down on their rights. We could talk all day about the problems with that piece, from its uncritical platforming of hate groups to its burying of quotes from trans people that countered the narrative, from the Lily Cade manifesto to the BBC's unwillingness to properly take responsibility for what they had done. It seems like such an easy win, but I want to focus a minute on my relationship to the BBC as someone who they have for years seen as an expert. I, along with the rest of Trans Activism UK, wrote an open letter to the BBC signed by over 20,000 people within just a few days, explaining in depth, in our expert opinion, along with those of the team, every...
Look at these motherfuckers in the back here. Who's that in the suit? Who's that big forehead in the suit? And this motherfucker, you know what I mean? Calling for backup on the radio.
Every problem we saw in this mess of an article. The letter grew to the point where BBC News had to write a story about the open letter.
That guy's got the face like shit. The jig's up, boys. Fuck. Fucking hell.
They did not reach out to the letter's writers for comment. And we know they could have done. The BBC knows how to contact me. They've done it when they want quotes about the Pokemon series turning 25 years old. They know how to call me when they want to know if Call of Duty Warzone's popular with the kids. When I'm having a cute feel-good wedding with my wife, they know how to contact me. But apparently when I write an open letter criticizing them for rampant transphobia, suddenly they don't have any interest or ability in seeing what I have to say. I'm sorry. When we mailed our open letter directly to Tim Davie, the General Director of the BBC...
Was this person just stood behind her then? Just being like, oh my god, she stood real close to the edge. I'm going to wait for a gap in the speech to make sure she doesn't fall off. Bless him. Oh my god.
We were promised he would respond to us. Instead, after great delay, we got passed off to a different member of staff who just totally fobbed us off and refused to engage with our complaints. I repeat, the BBC knows how to contact me. They could ring me any time to talk through the complaints that I and 20,000 people...
Sorka, this guy that we were talking about before, he's not a cop. No way. There's no way this guy's a cop, right? If he's wearing a high-vis and he was a copper, he'd have the hat on as well, innit? You know what I mean? Undercover cops don't wear, like, high-vises with security guards in it. Do you know what I mean? And also the body language as well, right? Yeah.
People share. They have
this guy's BBC security, yeah, 100%, yeah. He isn't security, I saw the security. Just because one security officer's not wearing a high-vis jacket doesn't mean that they're all not wearing them in it. You know what I mean? And again, he might be a fucking agency guy. You know? Like, it's not like, look, this guy at the back, he's wearing a different kind of coat. He's wearing like a high-vis and a blue one. Do you know what I mean? But like, what are they doing? They're standing outside guarding it. They're a guard. They're a security guard. That's what they do in it. You get me?
And they will not. I cannot prove the BBC stopped asking me about video games because of the open letter. Maybe it's just a coincidence.
The windows on the right are the One Show studio? What, these here? Yeah.
But just in case it's a coincidence, let me be clear today about how I feel about the BBC. I have no interest in ever explaining video games on your TV.
Yeah, the guy at the back in the jacket, he's definitely going to be salaried security, I reckon, yeah. Yeah, that's what I reckon too, yeah.
Shows or radio broadcasts until you get your act together on trans coverage.
Yeah.
I do not care if you offer me money. I do not care what you offer me. Unless you are calling to talk about the trans community with me not used as half of a four-balanced debate, and let's say for good measure you bring out Tim Davie to come on and issue a proper apology, unless that's what we're doing, I have no interest in ever returning to talk about meaningless video game bullshit for you.
Nice. Fuck yeah. Let's go.
I used to be proud beyond belief when the BBC saw me as an expert worthy of their airtime. Today, if asked to talk about video games for you, I will tell you to go fuck yourselves.
Let's go!
If you don't consider me an expert when I'm talking about my own lived experience and how it feels to be presented as a potential predator by your shitty low-effort attempts at journalism, then I don't want anything to do with you, BBC.
Get him, Laura.
Once upon a time, the BBC loved to hear what I had to say. Now they're going to hear what I have to say whether they want to or not, even if I have to come uninvited and shout it outside their door. Thank you.
Claps in the chat, claps in the chat. Now that's ethics in game journalism. That's a nice joke. That's a nice fucking joke. Holy shit. Yeah, good shit. Good shit. Yeah, that was fucking sick. Absolutely sick. Buzzing about all of that. Chat, if you weren't aware, streaming is my only form of income at the moment. You don't have to do anything now because it's the end of the stream, but these here are my living costs. My only form of income. If you have the financial means to support the stream, I would invite you to do so by clicking on the sub off Twitch command in chat. It's the PayPal link to my PayPal. If you don't have the financial means to support the stream, don't worry. I value you being here. I value you being in the stream, in the chat, lurking, and learning. We've just learned a lot about the BBC's institutionalized transphobia. That's fucking good. I'm glad you were here to learn about that. Unless you learned about it already, in which case you came here and you found yourself a group of fucking allies who care about you and love you and want trans liberation for you. Thank you so much for all the follows today. Thank you for all the subs, the donos, the gifted subs, the hosts, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's an early stream. It's a tiny little stream today because of my bad brain day. And hello, yes, nice to meet you, Creve12. Welcome in the chat, and Future Summer as well. I don't know if I said hi to you as well. But if you enjoy the stream, consider following. I'll be back live tomorrow. Hello, Danny Demonic as well. Yeah, I'm loving all the trans rights in the chat. Let's get some trans rights in the chat. If you got trans rights emotes, I want to see them. I want to fucking see them. That was really intense. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, you know, the hatred that trans people get at the hands of the BBC is intense too. So the response should be even more intense, right? It makes sense. You know? Just because my stream is over doesn't mean you have to go home. You can't go, you can't stay here, but you don't have to go home, right? That's the thing. We're going to find a lovely streamer that you can go and check out now. There's a lot of streamers that I know. Are they all online? I don't know. Are they good? Yes, they will be good. You know who we're going to raid that we've not raided in a long time? It's Sophie from Mars. Our little PogChamp. That's who we're raiding. She's playing Pathologic too. It's fucking good. That is a Poggers game that I gave up on.
Menku's finger. Oh my god.
All right, folks. There's the raid command. Oh shit, I did that twice. There you go, raid 2. Raid 1, raid 2. If you've got the egg dog emotes, drop them in Sophie's chat with me. If you've not, use the tomb raid. We're going to go and show some bloody love to Sophie. I'll be back tomorrow. We're going to be doing more React Andy stuff, more politics, all that kind of nonsense. You know what it's like. Hippo stun locks, fucking the cause stun locks, you name it. Weird little rodents, Legomorph stun locks from Alaska, all that good shit. All that good shit. And more Cuba. It's fucking Cuba month here on my channel. So we'll be checking out some more Cuba shit tomorrow, for sure. For sure, for sure, for sure. I'll see you tomorrow at 5 p.m. I love you very much. Good night. Mwah.
The Buha grants you his blood. Take the blood. Oh,